Northeast of Greece's famous island of Santorini, a seismic crisis is underway which so far has involved nearly 1,000 earthquakes. Each day, the number of earthquakes between 6 and 33 kilometers northeast of the island has become more numerous, higher in magnitude, larger in terms of overall energy released, and generated more tremors, some of which are now lasting for upwards of 30 minutes at a time. As a result, all schools have been closed on this current Monday across not only all of Santorini, but also across the islands of Amorgos, Anafi, Ios, and Thracia. Additionally, people have been told to drain their swimming pools and avoid going to the ports of Thira and Amoudi. All of these measures are due to the fear that a large magnitude earthquake, specifically one large enough to generate landslides and damage at least to some structures, could occur. But first, I need to dispel a rumor that I have sadly seen become too widespread on social media. There has been a claim that the Van method has determined a high likelihood of a magnitude 6+ earthquake striking on the Amorgos Fault in the near future. To whoever started this rumor, you know who you are, shame on you. Not only has this claimed method been disproven by hard science multiple times, but there are no ways to predict if and when a larger earthquake will occur. We can't predict earthquakes yet. So, anyone claiming that there is a high likelihood or prediction of some major earthquake is wrong, promoting pseudoscience and harming the local economy. I don't want to harm their economy. Santorini and nearby islands should, in my opinion, be mostly safe to visit, but due to uncertainty which people do not like, this whole situation is likely to bring down tourist numbers anyways. With that being said, anytime an earthquake strikes, there is a 5% chance that it represents a foreshock and will trigger a larger earthquake thereafter. And main shocks, if and when they do occur, tend to be fairly close in magnitude to the foreshock event. Thus, as more and more higher magnitude quakes occur, which, by the way, the largest quake so far was only a 4.7, the higher the chance is of a damaging main shock earthquake occurring. However, despite what might seem to be an apparent continuous upward trend, this won't last forever. Statistics of similar events suggest that earthquake swarms occurring before large damaging earthquakes are quite rare. We cannot quantify what this increased risk is in terms of percent chance or magnitude, but what we can say is that there technically is a chance, albeit a very, very low chance, that a magnitude 6 or 7 earthquake from the Amorgos Fault could be triggered. I know that a lot of locals are well aware that Greece's largest earthquake of the 20th century struck this very fault on July 9, 1956, which rated as a magnitude 7.7, leading to widespread destruction, 53 casualties, and an up to 25-meter or 82-foot high tsunami. It is okay to be afraid of such a repeat scenario occurring, but I must assure you that the chance of a similar event occurring is quite low. That chance is merely slightly higher than it was a week ago before the earthquake swarm began. And now, I have something to say that any true scientist or just good person in general should be able to say. I was wrong. At least, probably wrong. Initially, I suggested that the earthquake swarm, which began on January 27th, was related to an intrusion of magma at a deep location somewhat close to, but beyond the known edge of the Colombo volcanic chain, rising from 22 to 18 or 22 to 15 kilometers depth. I justified it by noting the nature of the earthquake swarm and the apparent detection of spasmodic tremor. However, as more data and information became available, it increasingly appeared that my initial analysis was wrong. Quite wrong, in fact. Let me explain. Earthquake swarms, while rare on non-subduction-related fault lines, can occur on normal faults during specific uncommon circumstances. That circumstance happens to exist right now via what is known as a slow slip event and has occurred before within an area where the crust is slowly extending to the northwest and southeast, known as the Santorini Amorgos shear zone, with a similar truly purely tectonic swarm occurring in 2019. The nearly 1,000 earthquakes which have struck have largely not occurred within the boundaries of the Santorini or Colombo volcanoes, but instead trended along a series of large normal faults which trend in a different direction than those two mentioned volcanoes. As for the apparent spasmodic tremor I detected, which lasted upwards of 30 minutes at a time, that tremor did indeed exist, but since spasmodic tremor is caused by the movement of gas, in our case a perfectly reasonable explanation is that the movement of steam and heated groundwater is causing the slow slip event. I also checked for signs of uplift on Santorini, which would detect a negligible but measurable amount of uplift if there was a true magmatic intrusion at Colombo, and found absolutely nothing 4 days into the earthquake swarm. Is it strange that the swarm is getting stronger every day? Somewhat, but that's not completely unprecedented for tectonic earthquake swarms. In my personal opinion, the main legitimate current hazard is a risk of possible upper end magnitude 4 or lower end magnitude 5 unusually shallow earthquakes triggering minor landslides or some level of damage in poorly designed structures. What I have stated about this all being a purely tectonic earthquake swarm is also the opinion of Greek government geoscientists. According to them, no truly unusual activity has been detected at either the Santorini or Colombo volcanoes. However, I do want to mention that there is a chance that very slow refilling of the shallow magma chamber beneath the Colombo volcano, which has been ongoing at a very low rate for many years, may have finally placed enough strain on the regional fault lines to initiate this earthquake swarm. That is just one hypothesis which would indicate perfectly normal, not unusual volcanic activity at the Colombo vent chain. Do you have any questions? Be sure to let me know in the comments section below. Also, stay tuned for more updates. But wait, today's video is not over quite yet. Since a lot of interest has been generated recently regarding Greece's active volcanoes, I have decided to utilize the US Geological Survey methodology of rating volcanoes to see how potentially dangerous each of them would rank. This ranking takes into account a number of factors including the amount of nearby population, amount of regional air traffic, tsunami hazard potential, how explosive a volcano has been, and how frequently it has erupted. With that in mind, here are the rankings of all 5 of Greece's active volcanoes with the similarly scored United States or world volcano. 2 of Greece's volcanoes would fall under the high threat category, while 3 would fall under the very high threat category. The main reason for why all of them rank in the upper end of the scale is the fact of how active the air traffic is in this section of Europe. Also, Santorini would rank as the 8th most potentially dangerous among more than 1,000 world volcanoes. As a final note, I would like to thank my new Patreon wiki for supporting this channel.